The Education Channel and the Naples Alliance for Children are pleased to present a special TV program designed to offer strategies for effective parenting. The show features child development experts and it spotlights important topics parents may be dealing with. Now, here's Myra Shapiro, president of the Naples Alliance for Children.
Welcome to Naples Alliance for Children Parenting Series. Today we're going to address the issue of gangs and what goes into gang activities. This is not to make anyone afraid, but gangs do incite fear and violence. They threaten our schools, our children, and our homes. Naples Alliance for Children feels that through knowledge, acknowledgement, and action, we can help combat some of the gang activity, if not all, hopefully, the gang activity, which is probably impossible here in Collier County. Today I have with me two experts. They live gangs. They live violence every day. Not the violence part, maybe, but they are always aware. I'd like to welcome from the Sheriff's Office, Sergeant Ron Byington, who is the street gang unit coordinator. Is that right?
Yes, ma'am, you have it.
Sergeant Byington. And also Sergeant Joe Scott, who is the Youth Relations Deputy, Collier County Sheriff's Office.
Yes.
Let's just start off with what you folks do. You come from two departments, but you're always working together. Sergeant Byington, just what is your job?
Well, what we do is we oversee the gang element within Collier County. That is, we have 6 investigators assigned to the unit with a couple of analysts, and we basically are always looking for information, seeking out those that are involved with the gang lifestyle, and taking that information and determining exactly who it is that we need to monitor, who we need to apply lawful pressure to, and determine how we're going to eradicate the street gang activity from the county.
So all the gang activity, not all of it, but you are the point person for gang activity.
We are the pivot point for it. However, the agency as a whole has responsibilities that contribute to what we do. We certainly don't tackle it by ourselves, but we have the training is out there for instance, for youth relations. They serve a very important role on identifying gang activity within the schools, and they are able to pass that information to us. So we work very closely on developing that information.
And we'll have a number later on also, but I'd like to give it now. Any information that's needed on gang activity, call 793-9486, and that number will be on the screen and will be later. And now, Sergeant Scott.
Yes.
Where do you fit in? I'm familiar with youth relations, but a lot of people aren't.
Okay.
What do you do in the schools?
With our Youth Relations Bureau, we have deputies that are assigned full-time to the schools. We have 2 officers assigned to each high school here in Collier County. We've got an officer assigned to the middle schools, as well as officers that are assigned to the elementary school programs. The elementary deputies are responsible for, all the YRD deputies are responsible for the safety and security of the students and staff and campus security. But on top of that, we're also there as mentors and resources for staff and students. The elementary deputies focus a lot on prevention and education, as well as the middle school deputies, and the high school deputies focus more on the enforcement, security, and education in the classrooms.
And what, from the angle that I've seen it, the deputies, men and women, are very close to the students, and probably I see you have your uniform now, you wear your uniform in the schools, and sometimes this with the little kids will instill they feel that this is the place who to go to, whether they're in school or not in school. It's that uniform that
That's
really
correct.
makes a difference.
That's correct.
Now, there are gangs They're gangs members and they're wannabe gang members. Does Collier County have any gangs? Should we be concerned?
Well, yes, we do, and yes, we should. No community is immune from this. I think it's safe to say that whether it's this particular generation or whatever, there's just this gangster mentality out there with our youth, and I think the bottom line, I think Sergeant Scott would agree with his interaction with the youth in the schools, is they deem the gangster lifestyle to be a form of instant respect for them. And in all the interviews that I've done and the contacts and the training that we do with the kids, it all seems to be about respect. And unfortunately, there's this subterfuge out there that once you join a gang, you're going to gain that instant respect. And unfortunately, they learn that they've really taken on another beast when they go that route by joining a gang or becoming involved with gang activity. So it's not a good way.
Well, that I think we all agree, except obviously the gang members.
Right.
That, but should there be a concern? Should our citizens, senior citizens, parents, should we be always alert? Should we be fearful that of the gang activity? You hear in the big cities there are gangs and the graffiti and all this. Do we have that here? Can you maybe address that?
Certainly. To some respect, absolutely. And we have a lot of people from outside this community that are moving here on a regular basis. And a lot of these families and young people from other areas are bringing that gang mentality here. And that's where a lot of our kids that have been here maybe all their lives start picking that up, not only from the TV and the internet, but also from these kids that are moving in here, say from Chicago, New York, Miami, the Midwest, wherever, and they bring that mentality that they grew up with or were associated with, and they bring it here, and pretty soon you'll have a new group that develops, or this kid is new and stands out to the rest of them. It used to be with gangs, it used to be very easy to pick them out in a crowd of 1,500 students at a high school, whereas nowadays with the culture of music and videos and all that stuff, it's more difficult to pick them out. They all pretty much blend together.
So how do you identify in the schools, and then we'll go into what you do, but how do you identify the kids that are...
We all participate in training that Sergeant Byington and his staff puts on, and we all participate that and get updates on what the trends are, whether it's clothing, whether it's designs, whether it's graffiti, styles of writing, styles of dress, behaviors, places where they're living at. They'll update us on that on a regular basis, and then through that, it's a process. It's a multitude of different blocks that we put together to be able to identify somebody.
Now, do you, Sergeant Byington, do you pinpoint, just because a kid is wearing a hat tipped a certain way or whatever it is, maybe he isn't in a gang. How do you differentiate as to, right, and not attack or not to, right, accuse right, kids who really aren't involved?
Right. Well, there's various criteria that are involved in the process. We just don't arbitrarily, anoint a kid as a gang member. We do have state criteria that we need to classify in the process, and it could be a multitude of factors. And you're right, we just can't simply go off of maybe just one indicator. So there are some other indicators that we would look for when we do encounter somebody that we may think is gang involved.
Now, what is the first step? Someone you feel maybe is gang involved for whatever, either on the streets. This isn't just in the schools that, right, you're picking up, I'm sure. Right. What do you do with him or her?
Clothing is one. We look at clothing, whether it's color, the color of clothing, certain brands of clothing which are identifiable to gangs, what they wear, particular clothing styles. We look at tattooing. Mm-hmm. We look at just like I said, it's just a variety of things. I guess you kind of have to do this to understand it, but one of the the things that stick out first is we look for color. and clothing colors, because that's generally how they want to.
What do you do? Kid has whatever he's wearing.
Mm-hmm.
I'm probably be afraid what color I wear. I picked up a T-shirt once that I thought would be really neat for one of my grandkids, and someone said to me, "What are you doing? What are you getting them into?"
Right.
So what is your first step? You have a child who possibly, and the child could be, from what ages are we talking about?
Well, it seems to be getting younger and younger because of the technology and the availability that they have now to get on the internet and communicate, and so they have the ability at a younger age now to become involved in this type of activity. But I think the youngest one that we have documented within this county is 13 years old, and our oldest is in the 50s.
Okay.
So
now, what do you do? Say it's in the school.
Okay.
What do you do? You see this kid going around.
Let's say we've established a criteria of 3 factors. The clothing, who they're hanging with, and maybe some tattoos. We'll call them into our office and sit down and have a chat with them, find out who they are, where they're from, what kind of things they're involved in, and take it from there. We can even ask to look at their notebooks or their book bag, see if there's any drawings or anything, and take that to the next step. If again, we're piecing together a puzzle, because just one thing or the other is not going to classify them as a gang member.
When are the parents involved?
Usually after we talk to them, or while we're talking to them.
Right.
We notify them, say, look, we got little Johnny here in the office, and we're talking to him about some issues, and see if the parents have any concerns. A lot of times, parents come right out and say, yeah, we've been wondering that also, and we always ask, have you ever bothered to check the room or their book bags? And most of the time the answer is no, and then we shed some light on some of the activity that they're involved in.
Now, either one of you, let's bring the parents in, because they're really first line there.
Right.
Yes.
What should they be looking for with their kids?
They should be looking for all the things a normal parent, or a good parent, would be looking for, and that is drawings, that is colors. If if all of a sudden their child decides that he or she only wants to wear one particular color, that's a red flag, because that's how gangs do identify themselves. And again, with drawings, things on the wall, whether it's stars or crowns or things that may be gang related, they can always call the gang office, and we would come out. We have an investigator come out, take a look at it. But we encourage parents to parent their kids, because if the parents aren't going to do it in a structured environment at home, the gang guys, the guys that are out there trying to recruit their children, will be more than happy to recruit their kids into the gang.
And I'd like to invite parents to either call the sheriff's office, or you can call Naples Alliance for Children, 649-5260, to get some of the criteria. The time always goes so quickly, and we do want, in the second half of the program, to address some of the issues outside of the gangs that contribute to gang involvement and also come out of gang involvement. We'll be right back.
The Naples Alliance for Children program will return.
Every year, mothers lose their babies to gun crimes. You'll always be your mother's baby. So before you commit a gun crime, think about who you'll leave behind. Gun crimes hit home.
I'm Ed Smart, father of a child who was abducted.
I'm John Walsh. Like Ed, I also know the terror of having a child who was kidnapped. But now we have wonderful technology to aid in this battle.
It's called the Amber Alert. It's an early notification system to the public when every second counts.
Amber Alert is a partnership. We want to thank you, the public, broadcasters, transportation, and law enforcement. Amber Alert really works.
The Education Channel, your window to education.
Now back to the Naples Alliance for Children TV show.
Welcome back. I am sitting here with two very important people with the Collier County Sheriff's Office, Sergeant Ron Byington and Sergeant Joe Scott. Sergeant Byington is with the gang unit and Sergeant Scott with the youth relations. And in the first half of the show, we showed that you're really working together between the two of you and with all other parts in the Sheriff's Office. You're a team.
Correct.
Now, speaking about working together, gangs work together, kids work together, they do things. And gangs doesn't really stand alone. We could be sitting here with my hands under the table. We could not have even an interview. But I'm not too adept at that, but I'm sure you folks are. We could be texting each other, and no one would know. I got my fingers going. You don't know what's going on. I could be pretending I'm listening to the teacher. I could be doing anything. That's a way of new communications. There's the internet. There's just anything else. I'm trying to figure out. There's cell phones. There's whatever. That kids do communicate. That there are different factors that I think maybe spin off from the gangs or lead up to the gangs. And could we just talk about those? We can hit on some bullying, the modern ways of communicating. Is it bad? Is it good? And what do you think is one of the most important things? And I'll start with Sergeant Scott. Okay. When you get into the schools, what is the most important thing that you feel is going on there that maybe is leading up to gangs or coming out of gang membership that is disruptive?
I think you got to go with the bullying. People that don't fit in or people that are a little bit lost in school. They're not doing well in school. Their attendance is lagging. They start reaching out to other people that are similar to their interests. And they start associating with each other and get involved with each other. One thing leads to another. The communication between the groups, between the internet and cell phones and texting and all this other stuff, the chat rooms, MySpace and that sort of thing, is available to so many kids, and it's so easy for them to reach out and grasp other groups of kids that are involved in gang activity or other activity.
And you mentioned in the first part of the show that it was respect that the gangs give kids. If someone are the gangs doing the bullying? Are the other kids doing the bullying? Or are the bullied reaching out to the gangs, wanting to be members so that they will feel as part of the society?
A lot of times it's not a specific group that's doing the bullying. It's a spectrum of people, of other students, not just the gang members that are doing the bullying. It's a variety of different students that may be involved in it, but the one that's being bullied is the one that's looking for that respect, as we had talked about, and that's the one that starts reaching out either for protection or to join the gang for the respect, to say, I'm a part of this group now, so you guys are going to be leaving me alone. I'm not going to get bullied anymore.
And that's a good recruitment part. Now, Sergeant Byington, when you look at kids who are being bullied, who are bullying, particularly, I think society looks at those bullies as being the really bad people. Is there a socioeconomic factor? Is there a certain area in the community that spawns this type of behavior?
There's no socioeconomic barriers here. I mean, it's wide open. And although, historically, your gang foundations do develop in your more dysfunctional areas, okay, of your community. You're going to find gang activity in certain lower income areas of your community than you will in your higher income areas of community. Just the nature of the beast. But one of the things I want to touch on is when we talk about technology and where we are in 2008. We don't have the kids now after school going out too much and congregating on a street corner. These kids now go home and they get behind the computer. And one of the trends and the issues that we deal with is that with technology, these kids are able to sit in the comfort of their bedroom or their living room somewhere in their home, and they can post whatever they want to post about other gangs or about other people, things that they would do behind their computer that they probably would not do face-to-face in the street. And, whether it's from bullying via messaging or whether it's posting videos. With the cell phones, they can videotape a fight at school, or they can videotape whatever they want to and have it posted worldwide within 30 minutes. So, that's a concern, and that's an area that we do address.
But as far as in some gated communities, I know that trafficking is going on in gated communities. From what the trafficking people are saying, there are homes within some communities that people don't even know about. And it's just because you live in a gated community or in the best part of town does not make your children immune.
No, absolutely.
This.
I mean, there's an attraction to this at every level. It's kids buy into it. It doesn't matter, how much money the family has. And
where does the school atmosphere, how does that affect this? Is there and that's maybe a touchy question, but just the atmosphere in a school. Are some schools more, how would they affect? Is the school, how strict the school is, what they look for?
I think it's definitely, and that's why it's such an important role with our youth relations deputies, because if they don't see what's cooking within the school, we're going to have a problem. We know that gang activity or gang recruitment is happening at the schools. That's one of the highest level of recruiting areas that we have. So, the youth deputies in the school have to be very much in touch with who their student body, who these people are and what they're into.
And you mentioned bullying, Sergeant Scott. Mm-hmm. How do you, now there's going to be a new law, hopefully, which laws are never perfect with whatever it is. But how do you now look at bullying? And also, I think it's important that parents do contact the school if they suspect their child is being bullied, if they suspect anything with gangs, that they call people. If you don't want to call the sheriff's office, you're afraid to call the sheriff's office, which you certainly shouldn't be, just call Naples Alliance for Children, 649-5260, and we will try and find something for you. But the purpose of the program is to kind of open up and show that the sheriff's office is there to help, not to arrest.
Right.
And now, how do you, with someone being bullied, you get a report or you can see it, how do you address that?
We bring them into our office, sit down and talk to them, find out what's going on, find out who's involved, how long it's been involved, what sort of circumstances are going on, how serious is it getting, and to what extent, how many people are involved. We'll get somebody from the school administration involved. We'll sit down and together and talk to them. If it's a one-on-one situation, a lot of times we'll bring the other person that is the bully, bring them in there, put them behind closed doors. It's amazing when they're not around their friends how easy it is for the two of them to talk and work out their differences. But when they're around their friends, they have to save face, and that's when they get so much tougher and they act so much worse. So when we get them behind closed doors, let them talk it out. A lot of times, 90% of the times, we get these things resolved pretty easily if it gets to our attention.
And again, because it's always, are the parents involved? Do you let the parents know this is going on?
We sure do. Yes, we do.
So that can't be said that, hey, you're taking care of this yourself and you're doing things that maybe the parent wouldn't want done in a certain way. I just want to touch a little on suicide within. Does gang activity, I know bullying does sometimes be a causative factor in suicide. Does the gang atmosphere do that, or do they give support to kids and work the other way?
I haven't had any issues with any kind of issues of suicide anyway, involved with the gang activity.
Mm-hmm. That it would be the bullying part that would be that. Now, if you had, and I'm going to hit both of you, first Sergeant Scott, if you had some advice for parents, just in a couple sentences, what would you tell a parent to do, knowing what's going on in the schools?
Be involved, ask questions, don't grill them, but just show interest in what they're doing on a daily basis about school. Watch for signs in their behaviors, their dress, attendance, grades. All those things are huge red flag factors that are key elements that we use when we're going to talk to a student. The first thing I do is pull up their attendance and their grades and their discipline history to find out if there's been an escalation of one of those things or if their grades have been dropping rapidly.
Now, how can a parent find this out?
Just contacting the school, call the guidance office, talk to their counselor, and they can pull it up right there in front of them on the computer and get that information to them.
And is this done, and I don't know, in the schools now, it used to be in the way back when, that if your child didn't attend, particularly in the elementary area, and even at the middle school we used to have at that age group, do the schools call parents if a child doesn't show up that's unexcused?
I believe most schools do have some sort of an automated phone program that calls home and advises that the student's been absent. But nowadays, parents are working, 10, 15 hours. The kids get home before the parents, and they're deleting those messages. The parents never even know it.
Yeah, that's
until it's too late.
Yeah, that's true. So you'd say parent involvement and be sure and it is open and that they can get the information from the school that they want.
Absolutely.
And Sergeant Byington, what words to the wise would you have to offer?
He's exactly right. It does start with the parents. And, one of the things one of the biggest hurdles that we encounter with what we do is that we understand that parents have an emotional attachment. I mean, this is their child. And, just be open-minded enough that if somebody from the sheriff's office or the schools or whoever does contact you about an issue with the child, to hear them out. We deal so many times with the parent, not my kid, there's no way, but, let's sit down, put the facts together, let's figure out how we best move forward for the benefit of the kid, and that's the communication has to be there. It just can't be an automatic, slam the door, I don't believe you type deal.
So that you're acting as their friend, doing something in the best interest of the child, not being there to make accusations without any, at least, ideas and things that are going on. And I just want to bring that with the parents, that you would be open, and you are open. If you are suspecting something and this isn't true, that's fine. You're as happy as the parents are with it, I'm sure.
Absolutely.
And we try to identify these things at the earliest point. So if we can correct the behavior of the kid at its earliest point, we have a better chance of keeping this kid off the wrong path and seeing this child graduate high school and have a successful, life.
And I think that's what we all want. I want to thank you folks for being here, and I know that you're very open to phone calls. They'll be listed at the end now. And getting back to the fact, it's awareness and also acknowledgement that there is a problem. So that if you acknowledge there may be a problem, just as though your child has a physical disability, you look into it, and then you're happy when it isn't true, but then you should be happy that something is picked up at an early age. And thank you again for being with us, and I thank the audience, and see you next time.
Thank you for watching the Naples Alliance for Children, presented by the Education Channel. If you have questions or comments for the show, please call 649-5260 or visit napleschild.org.
You're watching the Education Channel, Cable 20, home of Storytime, the daily TV read-aloud show. Enjoy Storytime, weekday evenings at 7, weekdays at noon, and Saturday mornings too, right here.